Hi, I'm Kathie from City of Tucson Parks and Recreation Leisure Classes, and I'm the instructor of the Torch Fundamentals class, which is offered on Sunday afternoon. Our classes are available for registration at easyreg.com starting on August 1st. And I'm here to show you one of the projects that we do in the Torch Fundamentals class, which is a fold-formed leaf that we will then torch enamel and raccoon. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with some copper. You can also enamel on silver, but since it's going to cover up the whole piece, you might as well start with copper. To do your fold forming, you want a relatively thin piece of copper. This here is 26 gauge. You could use perhaps a 24 gauge. You wouldn't want it much thicker than that because you're going to be doing some folding and some cutting on it. So what I've done is I've already cut out myself a little rectangle. And this is about a 2 by 2.5 inch rectangle, and I've got the midpoint marked with a Sharpie. And I'm going to fold it in half. You can do a square. This guy here was done with a square. And you can see how it ends up being a shorter, fatter leaf than this guy who was a rectangle. So I use a lovely little vise, line it up where I marked, and then I just fold it over. I don't even fold it all the way, just part of the way. Then I'm going to pound it down just with a rawhide. So it's a much better fold. So you're going to end up, then I'm going to draw, just like this, a little heart-shaped half of a heart with a Sharpie. Now when I draw it on, I don't take it all the way straight down to the fold, because when you're working this piece and you open it up, you don't open it up all the way straight to the fold. So take it just a little bit to the side of that fold. And you're going to get some cutters, some tin snips, something to cut it out. You could even use a saw if you wanted. And you just cut. This is why you would certainly not want to have anything like, say, 22 gauge. Oops. So now I've got a piece like this. It's folded in half. The fold is the middle. And I'm going to start hammering it. This here is a grooving hammer. It's a nice one to use for this. You're going to use, you want something that has a narrow edge. You could use probably a bordering hammer. But when you use a hammer, the important thing to remember is don't hold it here. Hold it at the very edge and let the weight of the hammer do some of the work. And it's starting to put little marks in. What I like to do is, like on this one here, see how it's got a bit of a ruffle to it? The way I did that was I just chose like one spot and just hammered at that one spot. And then you choose another spot. you choose another spot. And you can see here it's beginning to get that little ruffle in. And you can do it as long or as short as you like. If you like this, you can stop here. You can see there's a bit of a difference. This one has a little more ruffle and more of a curl to it. I pounded on it longer. So now we're ready to anneal this. If we're happy with all the curves and the ruffles, we're ready to anneal it. So we're going to take it over to the torch. Okay, so we're going to turn on our torch. And we're going to heat the copper until it hits sort of a dull cherry red color. And it will start changing colors. I don't know if you can see that. See how it gets a flash of other colors on that? That means this guy is annealed. So we stick him in water. And then we're going to put him in the pickle. So you put it in the pickle and let it sit for just a couple of minutes. All right, so I got it out of the pickle. I'm rinsing it in water because pickle is an acid. All of the black soot is gone now, so I know it has been pickled appropriately. Frequently, I like to put a little hole so I can then like string it up on something. So I have a really cool little metal punch. You can use a drill press, whatever you want, to put a little hole in it. Now I got a little hole. We will pull this apart. You want to use your fingers as much as possible to pry it apart, but it gets a little tight. So I will sometimes cheat and use a pair of pliers. Now you're ready to clean your piece so you can start putting on the enamel. But before you do that, just check. And if you have any rough edges, file them down now before you put your enamel on. So now you're ready to clean it. I personally prefer to use Penny Bright for cleaning. What the Penny Bright does is it's going to get rid of any of the oils, any leftover fire scale, anything like that. And what you're looking for is for the metal or the water to just sheet on the metal, and then it's cleaned. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to coat this with a layer of white enamel. I'm just going to sift on some white enamel. The reason I'm going to do that is because I am then going to put on some beryl green. And along the edge, you can see bits of the beryl green, and it's a really beautiful color. If you don't put the white underneath, you can't see that. So I'm going to paint my piece with clear fire. And then sift some white enamel on it. And we're going to set it aside because we want it to dry before we actually fire it. Otherwise, the clear fire wants to bubble. So we will just set it aside while it dries. Okay, so now I've got this guy set up. He is set up on a stainless steel tripod that I put some steel wire on top so that I'm able to heat it from underneath. And I can come up and heat it like this. And because it's sitting on the trivet, if I want, I can heat it from underneath here too. And I've got the whole thing on a Lazy Susan so I can spin it around. And just heat from underneath. If you heat from on top, it's just going to make this white turn sooty. And what I'm looking for is for that white to go like smooth and glossy. Now we just set that aside and let it cool. And then we're going to go and sift some of the beryl green on top of that. Okay, once you've fired your white and it's all cooled down, we're going to put on the beryl green. And for doing the raccoon technique, what you want is beryl green is probably the prettiest color. It's 2430. It's probably the most beautiful color for doing this technique. But you can use any color that has sort of a greenish or turquoise color to it. There's a peacock green, it looks real nice. But I've also gotten halfway decent effects with like gem green and Nile green. So I got my clear fire on. And we'll put it on our trivet and let it dry before we go and fire it with the torch. Piece with the beryl green on, and I have made myself a little raccoon pot. This I actually got at one of the secondhand stores. Any metal container, and you need a lid that will go on top. Cut up newspaper. Just want to have some sort of little nest of newspaper in here. And we're going to start firing our piece again, like we did the other one, but we'll have a little bit of a twist at the end on this one. So it's all smooth and glassy. This time, remember now with the white, we couldn't put the torch on top. With this one, it's not necessarily the end of the world, because all that's going to do is help pull some of those metal oxides to the surface. And what we're trying to do is we're going to have this all nice and hot, and green and blues, of course, have a lot of copper in them. So when I put them into this pot, and I put the lid on the pot, basically it cuts off the oxygen. It has a reducing atmosphere, which is going to pull out even more of the copper out of that enamel and give it a metallic sheen. good and hot, so I'm going to keep the torch on it while I bring it over here. Usually, I let the peas catch it on fire, but keep the torch lit, doesn't matter. So once it catches fire, let it burn a little bit, then put the lid on top. All right, let's see what we ended up with. We've got this. So we will put it down and let it cool. Get our trivet out of the mess. Now, if for some reason, if you looked at this and you didn't like it, all you have to do is reheat it and do it again. And never ever at this point put it into the pickle. It will take all that beautiful oxidation away. Okay, so we started with a piece of copper. We folded it in half, drew a half of a heart shape on it. We cut it out, we hammered it, we annealed it, we opened it up, we pickled it. Then we put our white enamel on, and then we put our green enamel on, and then we raccooned it. We melted all the enamel with the torch, and we stuck it in the pot, and we put the lid on the pot and let it raccoon. And there's many other things that you can torch enamel. There's many other little projects you can do, and we have a wide variety of classes here at Parks and Recs. We even have some Japanese metalworking classes, we have some hydraulic press classes, we have glass fusing classes, we have lamp working torches, we have painting classes. We have so much to offer. We would love for you to come and visit us. Thank you.